All right, everyone, welcome to this week's press conference. This is the final midweek game of the year for the Blue Raiders, Wednesday night at Jacksonville State, and the game will be on ESPN2. So discuss this week's game and a little bit about the last one. I'd like to get it started with our head coach, Derek Mason.
Well, good morning. It's Jack State week number 8 for us, or game number 8 this season. And the Blue Raiders, get ready to face probably its toughest test as we work through it. Jackson State, really good football team. Coach Rich Rod has done a good job of rebounding his team. They come off an 18-day bye. Heading into this, and our football team comes off a good win versus Kennesaw State. Man, that was hard fought. So as we prepared for this team, what we know and understand is that it's going to be a physical game. We're not going to be surprised by the physicality of Jack State. They can run the football, and they can also spread you out, push it down the field. Defensively, they've been opportunistic. I've known Coach Rich Rod for a long time, and we've gone against each other before. Rod Smith, one of the best play callers in the game, and Coach Olson has done a good job of getting that defense, up to speed. I think they've hit their rhythm, and we're definitely trying to find ours, offensively, defensively, special teams, and definitely looking forward to the challenge of what going to Jack State means. Like I said, this football team is going to be a physical football team, and so we're not going to be surprised by what they do and how they play. They love their place. They love to get after you. And for us, this is truly a test and a challenge for the Blue Raiders. So, again, excited. With that, I'll open it up for questions.
Coach, it seems like Jacksonville State really has hit their stride once they settle on Tyler Huff as sort of the guy at quarterback, dual threat guy. What extra dimension does he add to their offense when he's in the game?
Well, I think just that, right? He's been efficient throwing the football, but what he's been able to do as a runner has been, pretty exceptional. They will make you work to play 11-man football. So whether you're in single safety defense or split safety defense, you have to account for the quarterback in terms of the run game. Everything from the Q counter to the Q read. And I think he understands how to keep plays alive, right? So when you look at what Huff has brought to the table, he played early, then it went back and forth for a little bit, and then they settled on him. And obviously when you get rhythm in that offense, man, that offense really starts to take off. And, he's got weapons. I look at what they've done with the duo running back, Stewart and Lewis, and what they've been able to do. Tight end Brown has been, been exceptional in terms of them being able to get him the football. And then when you look at, how physical their offensive line is, with that, quartet of receivers, I think they've got balance, and that's what everybody strives for. I think every offense strives for balance. So I think when you got a good quarterback and balanced, nuanced offense with a physical front, and it gives you a chance as a quarterback to be pretty good.
You mentioned earlier, last midweek game, sort of this cycle. Now that you've been in it, a couple weeks, going into your third week, how do you think you guys have handled it as a staff, and what would maybe you do differently, next year going into this?
Man, talk to me after I actually had a chance to evaluate it. It's a good question, but for me right now, today is a Monday on a game week, really posing as a Thursday, right? So I right now it's all topsy-turvy. We're just making sure that we get the days right so we can structure our practices and everything that we need to do in terms of recovery for our student athletes, and to put them in the best possible position to go compete and be really good on the road.
Coach, Shakai Woods and DeMonte Smith had really strong games last week.
Mm-hmm.
When you face a strong offensive line unit like Jack State has, how important is it to build off of their success last week and to keep that momentum going into this week?
Yeah, we tell guys every day is a job interview. Last week was good for those guys. Man, you want to take it and hopefully build off of it, but those guys know. Every game is different. And so what you got to do is work on practice preparation, because practice preparation becomes game time performance. Okay, and I think our guys have learned that over the last couple of weeks. You know, you can prepare all you want to, but when you go into games, man, you have to have a different mentality. Okay, and I say that because I go back to La Tech. I thought La Tech got after us, like they did, and I thought when we went into the Kennesaw State game, it wasn't that way. We weren't fooled or we weren't sort of surprised, you know, man, about what was going to happen because we talked about our own physicality. And that's not going to be any different than this game. If we have to have a certain level of physicality, like to play against a team like Jack State. If you don't meet physicality with physicality, man, they'll run you out the gym. So I think it's not just what happened last week; it's what you got to do come Wednesday night. So I think the preparation all week has led to this idea that we have to play a certain type of ball game versus these guys, in order for us to make sure we can be successful.
Coach Stewart moved up to the booth last week.
Mm-hmm.
Operationally, could you see a difference?
Yeah, I thought I saw a difference. I thought guys got lined up, they got their cleats in the ground. And more than anything else, I think when you see it from up top, it's not moving as fast, as it is sometimes on the field because everybody else around you is frantic. Right? For substitution to this, to that, look, man, you see it, you get the play call. And that's the thing that's going to be challenging this week, right? I'm glad that he's up because here's what we know. We know that this team is a tempo team. They play with tons of tempo. And with that, part of it is knowing what you're in, with the look system and being able to call the perfect play. And it's easier up top to see when the quarterback looks versus on the sideline. You're looking at a bunch of things. It's easier to focus in on the quarterback. What is he doing? Look at his mechanics. When he looks, do we look? Do we change the call or do we stay with it? So I think making that adjustment last week versus Kennesaw helps him in a game where we're going to see plenty of tempo. Guys got to get lined up and we got to get ready to go.
On the offensive side, many of us weren't aware of Nick's situation going into the Kennesaw game, and your comments after the game basically said when he told you he wanted to play, you gave him that option. What does that say about your relationship with him and the way you think about the way he is a leader on this ball club?
Well, I want to be able to, ride or die with any of my dudes, right? And that dude has never given me any reason to believe, man, that he won't compete, man, once he puts on the uniform. He knows how to transform, and I think we talk about it all the time, right? I've shown these guys the same video, about Kobe, and Kobe talks about, man, there's Kobe and then there's a Black Mamba, and I think, he understands it. I'm trying to get other guys to understand it, but there's this thing that you got to go to when it comes to playing the game and getting in between the white lines. I think our relationship is part of it, but I think the other part is that I've seen the dude transform. I knew how sick he was. Nobody else did, but I did. And I probably could have gone a different route in the second half because he was tired and fatigued. But, I went with him because I believe, man, that dude's going to will himself or try to get us to go places that we've never been, to do things we've never done. And so sometimes, man, you just gotta let that ride for the growth of the football team.
Coach, Jack State's offense is a big rushing kind of offense.
Mm-hmm.
Trey Stewart leading the charge there. What can you point out from Trey Stewart and kind of this offense?
And Trey Stewart is a three-dimensional back. That dude runs hard. He's physical at the point of contact. If you look at this offense is built around guys who are yards after contact guys, from wide receivers to running backs, and Trey Stewart leads the bunch. And even Tyler Huff. If you look at him, that dude runs people over. I know we saw Patrick Mahomes run somebody over last night. Well, Tyler Huff does that to plenty of people. So again, you can't let that sneak up on you. You got to populate to the football. And so with that, Stewart is physical. He runs behind his pads. Okay, man. He's great catching the ball out of the backfield because they'll run wheels with him all day long. And I think the other piece of it that people don't give him credit for is what he does in pass pro. So, to me, like I said, this is a football team that truly manifests the mentality of their head coach. Okay, I mean, if you ever seen Coach Rich Rod get after it, he gets after it, and his team does too. So again, we're not going to be surprised by how they play or what it looks like, man. We have to match and then come with our own set of things that make us unique.
You're going up against a defense that's only allowed 14.7 points per game these last 3 games. How do you prepare to go up against a talented defense like that?
I mean, as I look at this defense, J-Rock Swain up front, number 30, man, the dude's active. I mean, that dude is probably as dynamic as you're going to find in our conference. I mean, he's a one-on-one nightmare, up front, and he causes havoc. As do their front, okay, man, because they like to pressure the line of scrimmage. Okay, and that's what they do, man, based on what, their first-year defense coordinator, Luke Olson, does. Okay, man, they'll load the front and they'll do some things. But you can't not speak about what they're doing at the second level with their backers and what's really happened in their secondary, with Poser and Carter. Those guys have been opportunistic. Okay, as well as those guys at the corner. They do a good job in putting you in third and long situations and making you throw it to them. Right? Because rush and coverage work together. I mean, that group has been opportunistic, man. I think they're third in the country, like in terms of total takeaways, in terms of what they do. So it's going to be a challenge for us. They're gonna challenge our receivers on the outside. Okay, and anytime you challenge and sit on receivers, quarterbacks have to be accurate because those guys are looking for tip balls. And tips and overthrows, DB's got to get those. That's what they've done. And so as we look at how we have to play these guys and what we have to do from the quarterback position, tight ends, wide receivers, it's going to be a challenge. But that's the game of football. Every week presents something new.
I know you're going to evaluate the whole midweek situation and your thoughts on it when it's all over, but has it allowed you to watch more teams in the league play because of how they're scattered out during the week, or has it changed your football watching habits at all?
Yes and no. On a short week, I've watched nobody else. Because on short weeks, man, you're having to do so much, like to get ahead, right? But on those weeks that have been a little longer, it's kind of cool to see a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, in contest. There's a lot of football going on right now. But really, the only football I'm worried about is the Blue Raiders. So, catching games. If I'm catching a game, I'm probably turning something on so I got some background noise and really looking at my iPad or looking at it on the computer so I can do stuff because it's hard to just work in silence. So, yeah, I've caught games. I don't know how much I've been paying attention though.
Right now, we got a question on Zoom. Noah Maddox.
Morning, Coach. No matter Shelby Times Gazette. You mentioned Jacksonville State, 18 days off, a big extended bye week. How important is it for you guys to get off to a fast start to see if you can take advantage of any rust that may be, that they may have?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to get off to a fast start. I don't think it's about them shaking off rust. They're a run offense, in first, in terms of what they do, and they're explosive, off the run and really with their ability to take shots. So I think their offense, once it hit gear, it's in gear. It's important to us that we get rolling just from the simple fact we have to score, and defensively we got to get stops. That's really what it comes down to. In order for us to play the game that we want to play, Noah, we have to make sure that we can go tit for tat and then create some opportunities ourselves. They've done a good job getting the ball turned over and not turning it over. And what we saw is that when we don't turn the football over, I think we've got an opportunity to create some havoc and get some turnovers.
Anything else for Coach? Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, it's now time for our student athletes. Here with us today is quarterback Nick Vadiato and defensive end Anthony Bynum, and we'll get started with Nick.
Morning.
Morning. Well, how are you feeling?
A lot better. Much better.
And how long did it take you to get through that?
I'd probably say today's Monday. Probably around Friday afternoon, Saturday morning was probably feeling back to 90%. Sunday was probably back to 100%, so I'm feeling much better.
Gotcha. Coach talked about how Louisiana Tech really got after you guys. Kennesaw was a little bit different. This appears that Jacksonville State's going to be very very aggressive, very physical. What does that mean to you as far as getting the ball out of your hands, things like that?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, football's football. I think any football team comes into a game with the mentality that you want to get after the opponent. That's whether it's La Tech, whether it's Kennesaw State, whether it's Jacksonville State. And to a credit to this team that we're about to face, they're very talented on defense. They fly around the ball. They're physical. Like Coach mentioned, a very talented D line and a back end that'll challenge you. And so I think when it comes to what we do as an offense, I think getting the ball out quick is always a key. Because even Coach and I were talking about it. When you're constantly getting the ball out quick, on time, it doesn't have to be chunk plays down the field. Sometimes it's 4 yards here, 5 yards here, 6 yards here. Like over the course of a game, that can get very annoying for a defense when they can't get off the field. It becomes very frustrating for them. So I think just kind of doing what we're supposed to do, executing our game plan, and then getting the ball out on time, not being afraid to take the check down. I mean, more times than not, I think we take for granted how much a check down is worth. You're 4 yards almost every time just on a check down. And you're like, maybe throughout watching the game it doesn't mean a lot, but over the course of a game you look back and it's a lot of yards. So I think, especially versus a talented defense like Jacksonville State, you got to take what they give you. You got to play fast, and you obviously got to know that they're coming and they're going to be real physical.
Nick, walk us through just sort of, we saw you on Monday at the press conference and, seemed pretty normal. And then obviously it changed pretty quickly within 24 hours. Just walk us through, sort of the game day on Tuesday, what you're going through and how you ultimately came to the decision to play.
Yeah. So, I mean, Monday was pretty normal. We practiced here, did everything here, went to the hotel, dinner, family time, hang out with your guys, do everything normal. And then, go to sleep, woke up around 2 a.m. Tuesday morning, felt terrible. Didn't sleep much at all. Kind of texted Keith, our head athletic trainer, around 6:30, 7 in the morning. I'm just like, hey, can you meet me downstairs? And kind of did all the medical stuff of it. Came to Murfreesboro, got checked out by a doctor. They just told me, rest as much as you can if you're up for it. I appreciate Coach Mason. He had full confidence. He was like, listen, he's like, it's your call. If you feel good to go, you can go. And so rested as much as I could, ate as much as I could. I mean, kind of here and there. It's like when you're sick, you don't really have much of an appetite. But, came over to the facility, just kind of in the treatment room, making sure I was getting fluids. Hydration was super important. And, just kind of did my best to feel as best as I could for that game. And, other than that, nothing else was different. Went in there with the same mentality. We had our game plan. We were going to execute it. And, we're going to do it. I was going to do it to the best of my ability, and the guys were going to have my back, and so I appreciate them for that. And it came out on top, got a win, so that was much. It was good.
So how much were your guys sort of clued in to how you were feeling, and how did they rally around you sort of in that game?
Yeah, I mean, not much at all, to be honest, because I got up. Breakfast wasn't probably until 9:30 on Tuesday morning. So I mean, I was long gone before then, and no one really knew what was going on outside of coaches and the training staff. But got a few texts throughout the day from Amari and Holden, Jace Gardner as well, who was also kind of sick at the same time. But just making sure if I was okay, and just being good teammates, being brothers, and kind of showed up on game day. I had my mask on because I was contagious, but I mean, at the end of the day, guys rallied around and we played well and got a win.
By the way, people noticed you were not in Raider Walk. I started getting texts about 4 o'clock.
Was not at Raider Walk.
How important is it going to be to finish drives this week? Because they've been very efficient offensively, and you don't want to have to play catch up.
No, you don't. And I think it that kind of plays into starting fast. I mean, obviously as an offense, that's always your goal, is you want to start fast from the very jump. And I think when you play a team that's as efficient as they are on offense, and especially when it's rushing. I mean, I know they play fast, but rushing the ball, that clock is going to roll, and they're continuously getting plays. And if they're going to be scoring, as an offense, our job is to score. And, I think when you play a defense that is as talented and as physical as Jacksonville State is, any opportunity you get to touch the ball and to get down there, especially in the red zone, like points are key. And that goes without saying. That's any week. It doesn't matter if it's Jacksonville State or if it's not. But we're facing a really good opponent who might not have started the year as they would have liked, but they've been strong these last few weeks, and they'll be ready to play. Their coach always has them ready to play and ready to go. So it'll be a good test for us.
Nick, this is your second go-around in sort of these midweek games. I think, how do you compare sort of how the team's doing this year to sort of the challenge to last year, which I think, this year's schedule may be set up a little bit easier with the bye heading into it, but just, what's the key to doing well on these weeks right now?
I don't know. They're all kind of different. I think last year we played like 5 games in 25 days. This year it's like 3 games in 14 days. I think they're all a little different. Like, played Kennesaw State on a Tuesday, played Jacksonville State the following Wednesday, so you have 8 days. That's a little more normal, at least, in terms of the amount of days between games. But, you play La Tech on a Thursday, 4 days later you're playing Kennesaw State. So it's just it's hard to gauge. I think coaches do a great job of recognizing when to kind of give players rest or when you need to ramp it up and really get back to work on the field. And I think it's just one of those things, like, you kind of got to take it week by week. And, things might be a little thrown around, like Coach was mentioning, like we're doing a Thursday practice on a Monday. But, at the end of the day, like, it's a game week, and you kind of have to look at it as a game week. So we're going to get our work in on the field, and, when it's our day to travel to the hotel, we'll travel to the hotel, and game day is going to be game day, and just got to go from there.
Last 2 weeks you faced defenses that had a nose guard and really – aggressive nose guards. How different is that for you guys when, going from an odd to an even front that you're facing?
I wouldn't say it's different. It might be different for the O-line in terms of calls and from a protection standpoint, and maybe even different in terms of, defensive philosophy and what they want to do with their front and how they want to rush. Do they want to rush and get up the field, or do they want to be more gap controlled, kind of stay in their gaps, maybe get hands up when they see pass. So that kind of goes into, where do I want to set the pocket, what pocket movement will look like. But, I think at the end of the day, we, in practice we get to see a lot of odd. We've seen a lot of odd this year, but we've also seen a lot of even fronts. So I think our O-line is very keyed into what their rules are in terms of protection checks, protection calls, in terms of like what we're facing, odd, even fronts. So I think, when it comes to it, like, our guys are always prepared, whether it's the O-line, the backs, the tight ends in protection. I think they're always prepared with their calls and always making sure that we have the right call to put us in the best situation possible.
Nick, Jack State leads the interceptions for Conference USA this year. How do you go into this game as the quarterback?
The same. That's, like I said, it's a very talented defense. And any defense you face across the country comes into the game with the mentality that they want to take the ball away. They want to be physical. They want to kind of impose their will on the offense. But I think at the same time we have to go in and we have to execute our game plan. And, like we mentioned, that D-line is going to get after you. And they're a very talented back end that obviously has created a lot of turnovers this year. But, I have full confidence in our guys out wide, receivers, tight ends, to do what they do and make plays and get open. And, I know they have full trust in me to put the ball where it needs to be. And so, we're going to go in and have our game plan. And, listen, like, football's football. They're going to make plays. We're going to make plays. But I think at the end of the day, it's kind of like continuously moving forward, taking what the defense gives you, and sustaining drives and getting points on the board, I think, is going to be key.
Anthony, we've talked a lot about the tempo that Jacksonville State has on offense. As a defensive line, what's key for y'all to handle that sort of speed in between plays?
Shoot, I would say knock the offensive line back, like throw the offense off rhythm. Shoot, be great on first down. Throw the tempo of the offense off, so they can't tempo us.
And, Shane, next you mentioned that, the defensive line took a step up last week, particularly on the interior. How do y'all build on that momentum, heading into, a really tough opponent this week?
Shoot, keep on doing what we do, practicing hard, working our techniques, and being physical at the point of attack.
They've got a quarterback, Tyler Huff, who's going to run it a lot. And having to play assignment football with him, do Is it more gap control, or can you be as aggressive as you would like to be?
Shoot, we're a gap control defense, so we're gonna be gap control. Shoot, keep on gaps.
As far as a team that is a power running team as much as they are and what they base things out of, what are the challenges and what are the opportunities?
Shoot, they is pretty physical at the point attack too, so it's gonna be a good matchup. But I like our team. I like our D line.
Anything else, Anthony? You good? Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Just a reminder: next Monday we'll be back here at 10:30 as the Blue Raiders prepare for UTEP. Thank you.